Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. Today we're building this login and sign up flow with SwiftUI and BVN and async await. We're also gonna cover the backend integration with AppWrite. There's some other topics that you will learn today and I will show you them right here. So let's dive into it. Okay, today we're building this beautiful design by Tugan Amiel. It's a job search app design, it's a simple and clean look. So let's get to it. Okay, open Xcode and click in new project, choose app, click next, simple stuff, right? Login, sign up, SwiftUI, Swift, click next, choose any folder you want, create. Okay, we will start with the welcome screen, which is this first screen here. That's a simple design, just an image, some text, and 2 buttons. All right. So before we start doing anything, I would like to drag and drop the assets for the project and also one helper. All right. So go to assets. I'm gonna provide a link with all the assets you need. Okay. So the images are just this main image and these 3 icons. Okay. I'm also gonna drag and drop a helper. Make sure to select copy items if needed. Click finish. And this helper is just a validator for the fields, for the email and password. Just to make sure that we have a correct email typing and also make sure that some rules are followed for the password, like special character, number, etc. I'm not gonna get into how rejects work here on this video, but just for you to know, this validates if the email and password are valid to pass. Okay, so let's start. First, let's analyze here. In this welcome view, we have the login and register button that we will need to navigate to the other 2 screens. So we should start with the navigation stack, right? So select this VStack and type Command-Shift-A and embed in another VStack. And this one we can rename to navigation stack. Okay, both of this we can delete and start with the image. Okay, so the image is named work from home. You can just copy paste there. Okay, we have an image. So the image should be resizable, all right? Scale to fit to keep the proportion. And the frame of, let's say, 370. It's pretty much what we have here. Yeah, it's pretty much what we have. Okay, you may be wondering why I set the width and not the height. Because when I say scale to fit, I'm saying, hey, keep the proportion of this image. So when we set the width, the height is gonna adjust proportionally. So we don't need to set also the height here. All right. So let's put some padding on the top as well. 24. It's not gonna show on the top just yet because I didn't add the other components, but it will. All right. So next we have this text here. So the title, right? Let's say text. Discover your job. Here. Okay, so let's adjust the font size. 35, weight, bold. Okay, it needs to be aligned, right? Multi-line, text alignment center. All right, and the color, we need to take this color here. So let's see here, we can copy this color and create here in the assets. In case you don't know how to create this, I'm gonna show you. Click plus, go to color set. Let's say primary blue. Go to the sidebar here and change the hex value here. Enter. Okay, I'm just gonna copy the name here and we can just use here like so. Okay, looking good. So next we have this text here. Just copy. Let's just copy here the modifiers to make it easy. So this is not bold, this should be regular. And not 35 either. Let's see here. It's 14. Okay, and the color is just black. Okay, now we need the buttons, right? I'm not putting here paddings and spacers yet. I'm just gonna lay all the components and then do the spacing and the padding. Okay, so we have 2 buttons side by side, so we need a H stack, right? So H stack button with an action and label. Just make it 2. All right, here's the action. Okay, first is the login button, text login, and the text should be white, but let's set the font first. Let's say size of 20, semi-bold, weight semi-bold. All right, and the color should be white, background color dot white. And let's set the button style. So I'm gonna set the frame here, a fixed frame for this one, width 60 and the height of 60. And we need the background color, which is the primary color used before. All right, it's this blue here. Now we need the corner radius. Okay, radius 12. Okay, looking good. And we pretty much need to do the same with the other button, besides for the backgrounds, because the other button doesn't have a background, just an empty background, but the text is black. All right, register. So yeah, we just need the frame. Once you have the frame, the button will be side by side. Okay, we can also setting up here some spacing, some small spacing, right? Let's say 6 or 8. Okay, looking good. Maybe some more here. 12. Okay, now let's align and make it look like this. All right, we have all the components laid out, you just need the align. So first I would like to put a spacer between the image and the title. Spacer, right? And now between the subtitle and the title, you can put here some padding, like the bottom first. Let's say 8 here. Oh, I put in the wrong one on the title. All right, and I need some spacer here. Okay, and to tie everything up, a spacer here after the H stack, right? Okay, looking good, right? Okay, I think we're done with the welcome view. Okay, before I start the login view, I would like to set up the navigation for this view, because when we tap here on both buttons, we will navigate to another screen, right? Let's just set up for the login action for now. So go to the VStack and type command option left arrow to fold and add here navigation destination. We need this option which is presented in destination. So for this we need a binding, right? Let's just create a state here, state variable called present next view. Let's set it to false for now. And here, and for the view itself, I would say just a text, just to illustrate now. Next view. Well, I'm naming this next view because this variable is gonna be used by both. That's why I'm not saying here present login. Okay, I'm gonna show you how to present multiple views at the same time. Okay, not at the same time, but with how to deal with multiple views and how to decide which one you need to present. Okay. So now we need to toggle, right? So when we click login, the present next view is gonna toggle, right? Set to true. Let's just see here. Okay, looking good. Now let's start building the login view. This one. Okay. This is a little bit more complex, because we have here the buttons and the text, but the text fields, we have a lot to do. We have the validations, we need to implement the validations for the fields. We need to do this outline according to the state. If this text field is selected, we need to outline it, and if the user change to the another text field, we need to outline the other and remove the outline on the previous one. So there's a lot involved on this logic, and we will cover how to do this with focus state on SwiftUI. All right, so let's start. So let's create the files we need, the login view and the registration view. I just realized that I didn't rename the content view here. Let's just rename it to welcome view. Go to refactor, rename, and rename it to welcome view. Okay, we also need to rename it here. Okay, let's create a new file, login view. Create, should make it SwiftUI view, but it's fine. Struct login view. It conforms to the view protocol and have a body, right? Okay, cool. Let's set up the navigation stack here and the VStack. Okay, let's just put the text for now saying login view. Okay, and let's create the registration view. SwiftUI view, registration view. Okay, and let's do the same here, just registration view. Before I start creating the login view and registration view, I would like to set up the navigation already on the welcome view, so you don't need to do anything else here on the welcome view. All right, so we have two possibilities here, the login and register, right? Let's create an enum called VStack and create two cases, login and registration. And you create a state variable for this next view. All right, and should be a view stack, and let's say just login for now. So what I want to do is set this next view when you press the button. If you press the login view, we just set here the next view is the login view. Okay, and we do the same for the registration. In the action, we set registration and toggle the present next. So here we need to decide which one to present. Okay, so we need to do here is a switch state. So we switch over the type of the view stack, switch next view. So when we set to login, we show the login view, and when we set to registration, we show the registration view. As simple as that. This navigation stack brought so many advantages, and flexibility is really good. Okay, let's test. So here, when you press login, go to login view, and when you press register, go to registration view, and we are set to start building the UI. Okay, let's go. Before we start, let's do some organization here. I'm gonna create a folder called view, and let's put all our views there. It's gonna take some time to Xcode to index and re-render the previews, but that's all right. Okay, let's go to the welcome view. I mean the login view. I just realized that this login view doesn't have the previews yet, so let's create it. Login view, previews, preview provider, static var previews, turn the login view. Okay, now we have the preview. It's just Xcode just took some time to load, but it's fine now. All right, we have this V stack. Let's check the design. So we have here the title and the text here, then two text fields, another text, a button, text, stack of icons. Let's build these two first. So we have the login here, right? Let's font size of both. The color is gonna be that primary blue we set. Foreground color, primary blue, foreground color, primary blue. All right. Let's put some padding at the bottom. Okay, the other text. Okay, the font, just gonna copy and paste this, easy for us. Is 16, color is just black. Put some bottom padding as well. You know, to break that line, we have two options. One option is to set the padding on the side, or we can break the line here in the string, right? I'm just gonna break the line here, and now I need to align center. Okay, looking good. Now let's start building the text fields. All right, this one is a little bit tricky, but bear with me, we're gonna go through this. There's two text fields, and I want to highlight the border when the focus state is on this text field. If the user change the focus to the other text field, I want to remove the outline from this one and add the outline on that one. Also, when I validate the fields, I want the outline to become red. So that is a lot of work, but let's do step by step, all right? Let's first create the text fields. Text field. This is gonna be email, and we need the binding, right? It's empty, email text, right? Email here. So to do that highlighting, we need to use something called focus state. The focus state on SwiftUI allows us to detect which text field the user is typing, is currently typing. So let's create the focus state here. Add focus state for field, and here we need a type, right? We can make it Boolean, but for flexibility, I like to create a custom type for the focus field, because you know, here we can have a Boolean because we have two, but imagine when we have 3 or 4. In the case of the registration that we have 3, all right? So let's create a type for this. Let's create an enum called focused field. I'm gonna create two cases, email and pass, okay? I'm gonna make this type. I'm making it optional just for the purpose of not setting the first focus, because if I don't make it optional, I need to set the first state, all right? Let's just make it optional, all right? Now here in the text field, I want to call it focus, all right, focus field equals dot email. See how flexible this constant type make it to be the binding, all right? And here I'm saying the focus here is when the focus field is set to email, right? When we tap this field, it's gonna set to email, all right? So let's add some padding overall. Okay, we need a background color, right? Let's set to blue for now. Let's check what color is that. Okay, we have a color here, which is this. Let's create this color. Go to assets, do this color set. Let's call it secondary blue. Okay, go to in appearance and set the hex value. Okay, let's use the secondary blue there. Let's make some room. All right, we have the color. Now we need some corner radius, right? Radius 12. Looking good. We now need the outline. I'm gonna set the outline for now and then do the validation, all the logic to change the color. All right, need another background and set rounded rectangle. The same corner radius 12, and we need a stroke, right? Stroke which the color, the primary blue, right? Primary blue. All right, we have the outline here. Let's set the width 3. What's the problem? Oh, I put in the wrong place, not inside the colors here. Okay, all right, we have a line, a stroke, I mean. All right, now we need some horizontal padding, right? Padding, horizontal, cool, good. And now we need some validation, right? Remember that helper that I drag and drop here? So as you remember, there's this validator here that validates the email and they validate the password. Let's do the email. So what I want is to validate when the user is typing, which means when the text is changing. So we have this modifier called onChange, right? So onChange of the text, I need to do some things, right? So I want to validate every time the user change the value. So to keep track of this current state of the validation, I'm gonna create a variable called isValidMail, right? I'm gonna set first to false. Actually, I need this to be a state variable. Okay, actually I'm gonna set to true at first because of the color of the outline, the stroke. If I set to false at first, as soon as the user tap, it's gonna be red, and I want to make it blue when the user select the text field, only red on when the validation starts. All right, so I'm gonna set to true at first, and here I'm gonna use the helper validator, validate email, and validate the text, right? This new value is everything is the email text in real time, and this validator returns a boolean if it's true or false. So I'm gonna set the is valid email, this return, right? Let's go there, click Control Command click and go straight to that, and we say here we have here that we return a boolean, right? All right, so what I want to do now, I have two validations to do to decide which color is gonna be the stroke, right? If it's a valid email, I can check if the focus of the text is on this text field. If it's not, the focus is not on the text field, I can remove the stroke. If the email is not valid, I want to paint it red. And if it's not the focus, the removal, actually I'm not gonna remove, I'm gonna set to white, so it's gonna look like it's removed, right? So bear with me, you're gonna get it, right? So let's go for parts. Let's check if the focus field is email. I want to set to this primary blue, right? If it's not, I'm gonna set to white, right? So this is the first validation. See, there is no outline, but when I click it, it should show the stroke here. What's happening? I believe it might be some previous limitation here. So let's build and run. Okay, logging. See, on the simulator works. All right. So to test these validations, we need to use the simulator. All right. So to save memory, I'm just gonna close the previews because I'm not gonna be able to see it, right? All right. We have this validation here to check if the focus is on the email, right? But now I want to check if the email is valid to outline to red, right? So I want to add some other validation here. So if is valid email, I want to set to red. This is the first validation we do. Then go to the focus field, right? So let's build and run. So the validation is red already, which is not what I want. Let's see what we did wrong. Oh, okay, I get it. You see, we want to set to red if the email is not valid, and this validation is checking if it is valid. So we need to the negation here. If it's not valid, we want to set to red, right? So let's build it run now. Okay, logging. There we go. So we have the blue purplish outline here. When we start tapping, you see that it becomes red, right? But when I put a valid email, it's become blue again. That's cool, right? Here I'm just assuming that you know this syntax, which is the ternary operator. If you don't know what this is, research or Google it about ternary operation in Swift. Okay, so we have our first text field, but I want to go beyond that on the validation. I want to show a small text below the text field when the email is not valid, right? So I'm gonna make a conditional view here. If the email is not valid, I want to show a text. Let's make it a H stack to put all the way to the left. Okay, so text, your email is not valid. Okay, so I'm gonna make it red, some padding on the leading. Okay, and here I'm gonna put a spacer, and I think that's it. Let's check. Okay, logging. When it tap, okay, cool. That's what we want, right? Nice. All right, I think we're all set to start building the next one. All right, here I'm just gonna copy and paste and make the change we need, right? Because it's pretty much the same thing. Okay, but here I need to create another variable for the password. Is password valid? Password. And I'm gonna need a text as well. Password text. Okay, password text here, password, focus field is gonna be password. All right, secondary blue, blah, 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 is valid password. I make it different. Let's make it equal just to make it consistent. All right, consistency is important, guys, on your naming conventions. Okay, focus field, password. All right, password, focus field, password is valid password. Here, and the validator is the validate password, right? Your password is not valid. Okay, let's see. Nice. Let's test the focus state. We are here on the email. When we change focus, nice. So let's try some random shit here. Well, you see, this cannot be a normal text field. I just realized that should be a secure one. So let's go back here. This should be a secure field. Okay, the parameters are the same and the rest pretty much remains the same. Validate password, new value. Let's check. Okay, email, change to password. Looks like it's not validating at all. Let's check. Oh, okay. See, on the on change here, we put the change here on the email text, not on the password text. All right, I think we're good to go now. Okay, login, email. Well, why is validating both now? Yeah, I know what it is. The text here is password valid. Okay, I think now we're set. Finally, let's see. Okay, go to the next. Let's say okay, if you put another, okay, I think we're good, right? All right, now let's create the button. Okay, but before the button, have this forgot password here. Just gonna create now. So let's fold this, better check. H tag. So I'm gonna make an H tag because I want to put a spacer here first and put the text on the right side align. There's other way to do this, you know, we can make it a label, the text to be a full width of the screen and then set for the alignment to the trailing and then some padding. There's some other ways to do it, but I like to do it this way. But here I think I need to make it a button, right? Because it's gonna make some action when you want to tap it, right? Action, and the label here is text. Just forgot your password. The color is the primary blue, right? I need a font. 20. I think it's some 12 or some. Oh, it's 14 for the symbol. 14. Okay, so I just need a padding on the side, right? Trailing. I think good. All the spacing on between the text fields and here, everything I'm gonna set after I laid out all the components. All right, let's just make it like this, right? Because it's easier to, you know, lay out when we have all the components on the screen already. Okay, let's build it. Okay, now we need two buttons, right? Sign in and create new account, and then this bottom thing here. Okay, let's fold this one. We need another button. The test is gonna be sign in. And just gonna set the font. Let's just use font. Weight, I think. And we need the foreground color, which is white. The text, so the button text is white, right? So now let's set the button style. So we need padding inside vertically, right? I'm gonna set the frame, the width here, the max width to infinity to fill up all the screen, all the width of the screen. And then set the padding, right? But first I need the background color. Color is gonna be the primary blue. Okay. Now we need a corner radius, 12. We need the pad horizontally, right? As well. Horizontal. I think now I can bring the canvas because we're not testing the text fields anymore. Alright, we have the canvas here. Alright, our button is looking good already. And now I want to do some validation with this button. I don't want the user to tap the button if the fields have invalid data, a not valid email and not valid password. So I'm gonna create a variable, a computed property here called can proceed, which is a boolean, right? And I want to check if both the email and the password are valid. So when the user finish typing the email and password, I'm gonna get this information. If is valid email and if is valid password. All right, I'm checking here both of them. Imagine that we have a return here, but I'm just not putting the return here because we don't need anymore. When we have one-liner return, we don't need the return key, right? So I'm gonna check if it's the email and the password is valid. So here, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna set the opacity of the button. If it can proceed, it's fine. If it cannot proceed, I'm gonna obfuscate half, 50% opacity, right? And here I'm gonna disable the button if the data is not valid. Is disabled or disable, something like that. Yeah, disable. Okay, can proceed, right? So if it cannot proceed, right, disable the button, or which means you cannot click. Let's check if it's working. All right, logging. Okay, when I tap here, all right, not working. What's happening? Let's check. Okay, I get it. Here I'm checking if the email is valid and the password is valid, right? But they are set to true at first to have that behavior of the stroke at the beginning, right? So I need to validate again. I need to validate first, not taking this value. I need to validate this both here, right? So here, what I actually want is the validator to validate the email text, and the validator to validate the password text. Remember that this returns a boolean. So if this is true and this is true, it can proceed. Okay, let's test now. Okay, now we're cooking. So we cannot tap. Let's check. Okay. Okay. You see? Cannot tap. Now can tap. Cool, right? Alright, our button is set. Let's just now, we can actually just copy and paste this one. And just change, we don't need this validation because the button is create new accounts. Create new account. Okay, let's reload the preview. Oh, okay. Here should be black. We don't need this primary color. I believe it's not black, right? Let's see there. It's this color. Let's put another color here. Let's just call it gray. Okay, login view. Gray. All right, looking good. Okay, what do we need now? We need this button. You know, in SwiftUI, is a good practice to create components as much as you can, reusable components. And what I believe here it can be a component is this bottom part here, right? This bottom part and the text fields, right? Because it repeats itself, right? So what I want to do here, instead of keeping pushing views here, you see it's a lot of views already, and I want to create this bottom part here outside. Bottom view, body. Okay, let's just create a vstack, a text or something, or continue with. Let's just put here the bottom view. All right, have the bottom view here. All right, or continue with, but need to be blue, and I think another weight. Font size, it's 14. Not size here. System 14. Okay, need the blue. Okay, and now we need that icons stack, right? These 3 icons. So we're gonna need a H stack, right? H stack, and we need 3 buttons, right? Let's just create a button here. Okay, action. Here we need the image, right? The first one I believe is Google. What is it called? Google logo, Facebook logo, Apple logo. Okay, Google logo. Okay, have the Google logo here. Let's just copy and paste all of them and change into Facebook logo and Apple logo. Okay, I think we need some padding here on the bottom, right? Okay, looking good. And now I need that gray background. Okay, let's check what gray is that. I have this gray here. Let's create the color set. Let's call it light. What's happening? Light gray. Paste the hash here. Okay, and let's use it. Okay, here what we need. Here we need a padding, right? All the sizes, all the sides. We need some padding. We need the background color, the light gray we just created, light gray, and we need a corner radius. I think 8, looking better here. All right, so we can just copy and paste here. You see that's a lot of code repetition here. If you want to go further, you can create a view extension here. Let's say extension view, and we can call it button, icon button style, right? Return some view, okay, and just take self, right, and apply this. So instead of using copy and paste everything here, I can just icon button style. It's gonna have the same result. See, nothing, icon button style. Cool, right? This is gonna save you so much time if you do this for every style you need that is being repeated. So looks a lot cleaner as well. But yeah, so we have the component ready here. There's anything else? No, there's anything. Okay, I think we need to just set in the spacing and everything. But before, I'm not gonna implement this in this tutorial, but just to show you how it works, I want to pass through the action of the buttons, right? Because the action's in here, so there's no way here you can access like this. So we need to create the actions. Let's say var Google action, and we pass a closure, right? And it does nothing. Takes nothing and it does nothing. Okay. Facebook action, Apple action. So in this situation, we're not taking anything here, but in a real world scenario, you may need some, for example, user ID or some stuff here. I just can receive a string, right? Or return something, you know, depends on the need. But for now, I'm just gonna make it empty. Google action, just for you to see how would you build something like this. Facebook action and Apple action. So here now we need to edit this. You see, each action we can pass a function to do some work here. I'm just passing empty brackets here, but you may create a separate function for each action here, you know, just for you to see how it works. So now let's start to do the spacing and layout here. So between these two, I want a spacer here. Actually, I don't need this padding on the bottom here. Just put a spacer here. What's going on? Okay, I see. I believe I've reached the view limit on here. That's why I'm not able to add the spacer here. All right, so how to overcome this? You see, extra argument in call because there's too many views here. Okay, to overcome this, as I said before, I want to make it this text field as components, right? But there's some other layout we can do before this. Let's just put some padding between the text fields. Remove this spacer for now. Have the padding here. Actually, the padding shouldn't be here because we have the text here. I think should be here. You see, we might need some conditional padding because I'm setting here the padding on the bottom, right? But this padding is gonna show only when the email is not valid below the text, right? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna check if the email is valid email, right? Actually, I'm gonna set to the bottom and set the amount according to the validation. Is valid the email? If it's valid, so 0. If it's not, 16, right? Because when the email is valid, we don't need the padding. I'm gonna do the same thing. I actually have this validation here. This is actually not needed, but it's good because I can apply here. I can just say bottom here. because it's not gonna show if this email or not. It's not valid anyway, right? So here, if the email is valid, I want to show 16. If it's not, 0, right? So how we have been spacing here? Let's just check. Okay, logging, I have been spacing. When I click, we still have the spacing. When I start typing, it's not valid, but we don't have spacing between the text field and the text here, the validation. And we apply the padding below, so it's looking good. Cool. This is what we want. All right, we can apply some padding here as well on this text, right? On the forgot password here. We need padding vertically, right? So we're gonna apply here, top and bottom. Okay, better. I think here we can also apply some vertical padding to this create new account. I can just do like this, vertical. I mean, if you have horizontal and vertical, you just can delete, right? So we have overall. Okay, looking good. I believe for simplicity, let's just put the spacing here as a padding instead of a spacer, right? So let's set the padding below here. Bottom, let's say 80. Okay, this is pretty much our screen, right? Okay, I think it's looking good. All right, we can start creating our registration screen. But before we do that, as I said before, we need to create the components here because we're gonna use the same thing here. This bottom one is made already and we're gonna reuse the text field. All right, so let's create a custom text field for this. We need to create two, right? The email text field and the secure text field because they're different. All right. I'm just gonna do here at the bottom, but you can after that separate different files and organize. Okay, just create mail text field. Okay, body view, and I'm just gonna copy and paste what we have there. So we need a vstack because we have the text in the text field, the arrow text below, right? So here just copy and paste all the way in the text. Okay, copy here, paste. There's also another way of doing this. You can extract the view, extract as a view, but I want to bring also the validation of the text here, so that's why I copy and paste. Alright, so we need to create all these fields. So we can't make it as a state here because this view, this email text field, does not own the state of this. The owner of the state is the login view, right? So I need to pass as a binding. So binding var mail text string, right? And we also need the validation binding is valid email, which is a boolean. We also need the focus state, right? Focus state var focus field, and it's the focus field, right? Okay, we have pretty much almost everything here, but actually I think we're set here. So let's test. So remove the email, remove the email and pass the email text, email text and the is valid email. Okay, let's test. Login, tap the email. Okay, start typing. Yeah, looking good, right? It's working. So let's do the same thing with the secure field. Let's just make it easier on the eyes for us here. Struct secure text. Now let's call it password text field. Password text field. Okay. And it's pretty much do the same. Body, stack, copy and paste. So let's set the bindings. Binding var password text. String binding is valid password. And the focus state focus field and is valid password. What's happening? Oh, this is a boolean, of course. Okay, so let's use the password text field there. Can you just delete password text field, password text is valid password. Let's build and run. Login. All right, looks like we are all set with the component, right? Okay, now we can start building our registration view, right? So let's go. Okay, for the registration view, what I want to do is just copy and paste everything here and then make the changes we need, because the views are pretty much the same. We have a different text here, another text field here. We change the title of the button here. Okay, and the rest is pretty much the same. Just small changes, right? So let's go to the registration view. And just paste everything there. Okay, so let's copy and paste all the state variables. Okay, so they can proceed, right? Actually, everything. So we have the same, pretty much the same view, right? Not pretty much, we have actually the same view. Let's make the changes here, which is create account. So let's copy this text already. Create account. The text here should be medium 14. Okay, let's just break the line to make it easier for us. Break the line here. Okay. Forgot your password. We don't have this on the registration. Okay, forgot password. Where is the forgot password? Here. So we can remove all this. Okay. The sign in becomes the sign up button. You can add some vertical padding here. Actually, just stop, because we have a vertical here already. So actually have spacing here. Let's make it spacer on top of the bottom, a spacer. I think it's too much. Let's take, we're gonna need on the bottom as well. Okay, and now we need on the top of the create account here, like can put here on the top. Let's see. All right, let's make it 48. Okay, looking better. Now for the secure password, for the confirmation of the password, you can copy and paste here another text field. But now what do we need here? We need a confirm password text. Confirm password text. And we need a confirm password validation, right? Is confirm password valid. Okay, let's create some bottom, some top padding here. Okay, so all right, there's two things we need to change on this component, right? I want to change this text here to confirm password, right? And there is another thing. I don't need to validate this field. I just need to check if it's equal to the previous one. All right. For this, we need to make some changes here. Also, the error text, I don't want to be your password is not valid. I want to change the text to your password is not matching the previous one. All right. Let's make some changes on the component. So first, this text we should receive, right? Let error text a string. Okay, so we have the error text here, and need to pass through the component here what it's using. All right, error text, fine. And our registration view, I want to be your password is not matching. Okay, actually this one is below. Your password is not matching. Your password is not valid. Okay, all right, let's go to the password component. Another thing I want to change is the placeholder text. Let's call it just placeholder string. And here I want to place placeholder and change it here. Okay, here's password, and in our registration view, here's password, and here is secure, actually confirm password. All right, All right, looking good. Email, password, confirm password. Okay. Another thing we need to do, and this one is a little bit trickier, but bear with me. You see, this validator is validating a valid password, and I want just to check if the previous one is equal to this one. So instead of using the validator here, I want to receive a function. So let's check the validate password. So it's a function that receives a string and returns a boolean, right? So I'm gonna create here, let validate password, a closure that receives a string and returns a boolean. Okay. So here, instead of using the validator, I'm gonna pass the validate password. Okay, so we need to change here. Since the signature is the same, we just need to pass the validator function. Validator, validate password. And that's it. So let's do the same thing on the registration. On the password field, I want to validate if it's correct, if it's valid, right? Validator.validate password. But on this confirm one, I want to just validate if the text, this password text, is equal. I think I forgot to change here. Confirm password text, and here is confirm password, no, valid. How did I call it? Is confirm password valid. Okay, I want to check if it's valid here. I'm just create this function here outside. Okay. So I want to create a function here. Let's see where is the body. Let's close the body here. Okay. I want to create a function like validate confirm that takes the password and check and returns a boolean. I want to see if the password text, which is the previous one, is equal to this one we are receiving in the function, right? So I'm just comparing both text here. So I just passing validate confirm here. Okay. So let's see here on the previews. All right, surprisingly, now it's working on the previews. Let's test. Okay, password. Okay, it's valid. See, it's not matching. The text is correct, the outlining when it's equal. But one thing I forgot to do, I don't want this button to be able to sign up when the password is not matching. So I need to do some more validation, and I think this text is different as well. Okay, let's make the changes. So first, this text I think is already have an account. Okay, so I need one more validation for this button to be able to proceed, right? So I want to add another one, and confirm validation. How did I call it? Validate confirm. I want to validate confirm on the confirm password text. This way I'm validating if the confirm password is equal to the password text, right? The confirm password is equal to password text, right? Now let's see. Let's change the email. Password, confirm password. All right, we cannot proceed unless the password is matching. Okay, now we are set. Okay, guys, this tutorial is taking longer, way longer than I thought. So I believe I'm gonna break it down into two parts. And the second part is gonna be the integration with AppWrite. All right, so I hope you enjoyed the tutorial so far. And I see you in the part 2. Bye-bye.